Hello everyone, we're back here on the channel and I have today Nuwan Diaz from WSO2. Hello Nuwan, how are you?
Hey George, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Tell me, we're going to talk about WSO2 new Choreo platform and I'd like you to say a little bit, quick what's Choreo about and how you build the platform on top of Azure. And welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Hey, uh, hey George. Again, thanks for having me and for giving us this opportunity to present the product and what we've done. So yeah, before we jump in, so I work as a deputy CTO and also the product owner for Choreo at WSO2. So I've been here in the company for about 12 years now, working in various open source projects at WSO2. And recently, a couple of years back, we launched this new product called Choreo, which is an internal developer platform, as we call it. So I'm basically playing the role of product manager for that. So yeah, that's basically about me and what I've been doing. So I'm based here in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. um, so yeah, that's about me. So
Okay,
let me also give.
let's share the screen. Let me share your
Yeah.
screen. Let
All
me
right.
share your screen here. And
Okay.
if we're put in presentation mode there,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
yeah, tell me a little bit about the product itself. Who's watching, what's the Choreo for?
Right. So yeah, so I'll just try to show what we are trying to do in one slide, basically to give you an introduction of Choreo, using one slide really quick, right? So if you look at enterprise software engineering today and the cloud native landscape, we see that it's huge and vast. So any enterprise that wants to get a piece of code in production into the hands of their customers, they have to go through a lot of things, a lot of technologies, a lot of engineering practices, a lot of security practices, and so on, to get it into production. So in terms of investments, in terms of time spent and everything, right? So you have your application that you want to build in your hand, and you know how to build your application. So that's where you should be spending a lot of time on. And then once you have it in the hands of your customers, that's where you get start getting money from. So but given the complexity of the landscape we are living in today, in order to get your code into production, there needs to be a lot of things done where lots of enterprises don't specialize in, right? So these are things like setting up your security infrastructure, setting up a zero trust network, setting up your configuration management system, your secret management system, doing CI/CD, and doing a bunch of other things, like setting up API gateways, setting up your observability stack, setting up your environment. So a lot of things in the process of getting your application into production, right? So this middle part, as we call it, is what we are dealing with in the space of platform engineering today. So we have platform engineers who are trying to set this up and get it all working. But the reality is, you need every organization needs to spend a lot of time and effort in doing this part. So, and every organization is basically repeating the same thing that everyone else is doing. So it's a lot of time and effort wasted. So what we're trying to do with Choreo is to productize this middle part that everyone is trying to do. So what Choreo is basically doing is giving you all of these things. You can call it like in a box, like, so be it CI/CD, configuration management, CI/CD, sorry, I repeated, CI/CD, like API gateways, zero trust, everything in a box, so that as organizations and as developers, you can focus on your application and getting it into the hands of your customers. So that's what we are trying to do. So fundamentally, what we are trying to eliminate is, take CI/CD for an example, right? So if you are an enterprise today, and even if you're on some cloud platform, you still need to think through and go shopping for some CI/CD tool or a CI/CD service. So if you're on Azure, for example, you have to think between, you do I use Azure DevOps, do I bring in Circle CI, do I bring in Argo CD, you know you have to contemplate between these decisions. You have to evaluate these tools, see how much they cost, evaluate the pros and cons of each different option, and at the end of the day you get CI/CD once you've gone through that process, right? Same applies to
Yeah.
all other things, security, API, and everything, right? So what we are trying to do is eliminate that time being wasted and give you CI/CD as part of the platform and everything else that is listed here. So that's
Yeah.
basically what we are trying to do with the product. So that's a real quick introduction into what we are trying to do.
And one,
uh,
how you, that's my next question. How you, I know that you work with the Azure team and, Azure Kubernetes Service team to
yes,
build something use like native Azure components, the same way that the
right,
customer, normally use to create those platforms, but you're kind of
right,
giving all the platform ready for them to go. And yeah, I'm very
yes.
interested in the next line. Show me how is that being built on top of Azure?
Yeah, so as you all know, like, so we built Choreo completely on Microsoft Azure. So Choreo has two parts to it. Like, it has what we call as a control plane, and then it has a data plane, a component. So the control plane is completely offered as a SaaS service to all our customers. So and then of course that part is built in Azure. And then the data plane, we do support different clouds including Asia. So we have a data plane that is offered on Asia as well, on AKS. So if you think of it, this platform anybody can actually build with all the services that is offered by Asia. The where people are struggling or facing issues is tying all of these things together. So what we've done is we've tied those things together and given it in the form of a platform to the hands of our customers. So we use a lot of Asia services behind the scenes to get this all functional. And one of the main ones out of that list is AKS. So both our control plane and our Asia data plane is running on AKS. So that means customers don't have to worry about managing, scaling, upgrading their Kubernetes clusters. It's offered as a service. We also use services like Asia Front Door and Asia Firewall to secure and route the traffic of the applications into the workloads. And behind the scenes for CI/CD, we use GitHub Actions by default, and we also offer other services as well. So GitHub also we use behind the scenes. So the Choreo platform is deeply integrated into GitHub. So what that means is, if you put a piece of code into your GitHub repository, Choreo can pick it up automatically as soon as you make a commit and create a new deployment of that code. So all this integration is happening through GitHub Actions as well. So that's another service we are using, and it is tied to like the CI/CD workflows we have built inside of Choreo. So at the same time, we are using like the Asia Container Registry (ACR) as you see here, right? So when you
Yeah.
commit your code into GitHub, we pick it up, we compile it, we create the Docker image, and we push it into ACR, or the Asia Container Registry. And then when you're deploying this piece of workload, as you know, to get something deployed, you need configurations, you need secrets, and so on. So to get that piece working, we use services like Asia Key Vault to encrypt all your credentials and all of those things. So that's another piece of the Asia services we are using. And then for observability, so you need logs and so on. So we use a bunch of open source tools inside the cluster. At the same time, we use Asia's log analytics. So we use Asia Log Analytics to store and process the logs of our services, of the services of our customers that are deployed here. And also at the same time, we give something called insights or analytics. So this goes beyond logs and goes into the space of data processing and summarizing and so on. For this, we use the Asia Event Hub as well as the ADX service from Asia to summarize and generate reports out of these services. So similarly, we use a lot of other services. So we have Azure AD integrated. We use the SQL services provided from Azure for our databases, and a bunch of other services as well. So what we've fundamentally done with Choreo is that we've taken all of these disparate services that Azure offers, and we've brought them together to form a platform, so that our customers now don't have to go behind looking for these individual services and go through the process of learning all of those things and stitching it together. So we've done that hard part for them. So when a customer comes to Choreo, they write their code, point it out, and then they get a seamless experience of getting that piece of code into production. So yeah, those are the some of the services uh, we use in Asia to get this all working.
That sounds amazing. Like what they the big customers or even medium-sized customers, they want is just simplified process. They
Yeah.
want to use Azure, but they want that platform kind of simplification and and keep using all the products that they using like GitHub and AKS and all the Azure, like you said, security, ACI, and then Key Vault. That
Yeah.
sounds good. And is that available on the Azure Store or not? Is available on the Azure
Yes.
Store? Well, it is.
Yes. So it is available in the Asia Marketplace. So you can go to the
Marketplace.
Asia Marketplace, yeah, yeah, and get it installed from there.
Okay, then that's a good advice if I get start from the marketplace.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then what's exactly that the development of runtime architecture? Tell me exactly what you want to show there. Ah, that's the
Yeah.
main
Yeah. So the
Azure
so the
components
previous
that
slide,
you,
yeah. So the previous slide is basically trying to show how we have built it. So the services that we are using, and it's kind of giving a guidance to someone who also would, if they want to build it on Azure, right? It gives a high level guidance of what services you need to use. Now this one is basically saying what we have done, which is we have built the platform so it's available for you to buy. So if you want to go and purchase it from the marketplace or anything, or directly or anyway, you can basically buy that piece, and this is kind of giving you an overlay of what we've done. So we've abstracted all of these capabilities into these orange boxes that you see. So all of the things that you would achieve with, let's say, log analytics, AD integration, DDoS prevention, what you get out of by integrating all of these at the end of the day is security. Different forms of security, authentication, network level security, and so on. So that's what you get at the end of the day, right? So what we've done is we've integrated these services together and given you an abstraction where you get security, where you get authentication, where you get authorization. So when you're buying it from Choreo, you're actually buying these services. You're buying security, authentication, and authorization, right? So we've created that abstraction for people to buy the abstraction now instead of the underlying tools that can be used to build that layer.
and that means that the platform now be responsible for those components and for the life
Yes.
cycle of those components. They'll be hidden from the user and be used by the platform, and you don't have to manage those things because they'll be managed by the platform itself.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And then what's left for the user? Pretty much um, to create the code,
Well,
yeah, to have the
y-
create the code.
yeah.
Everything else will be managed. Inside your platform, you're going to be creating AKS clusters, creating the key vault, creating the log analytics, and all those firewalls and front doors that you need for your application. And it's pretty much create a
Yes.
platform the same way that we do with some Azure products. Like some Azure products, they also embed or encapsulate some other basic Microsoft products, and that makes sense. Even like Azure Container Apps, we build on top of AKS the same way that
Mhm.
you're building here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, So there is this new category of products. So as I mentioned in the beginning, Choreo is an internal developer platform. So if you observe this market, this is what this category of products are trying to do. There are
Yeah.
some products in this space which are kind of like giving you a framework to build the platform. So it's like it's not a platform, but it's a framework for you to build the platform. And there are other products like Choreo who are offering the platform itself. So it goes beyond the framework. It's offering the platform itself. So yeah, that's what these kind of products are trying to do in the market.
Okay, that's great. But the customer can, rest assured that behind the scenes they're using all the Azure products, so the things that they normally be using
Yes,
themselves, but will be done by them and managed by them, by the platform
exactly.
itself. Okay, go ahead and show it the platform itself. I'm pretty sure people want to see um,
All right.
the product. Wow, looks nice. I like the purple.
Yeah. So yeah, let me give you a quick introduction, like a quick demo of Choreo of what we are trying to do. So I'm logged in into Choreo. So within my organization, so everything you build inside Choreo is built within an organization. So I can belong to one or more organizations as well. Now these boxes that you see here, they are all my projects. So the projects that I've been working on. So in Choreo, you organize your work into different kinds of projects. So if I go into one of these projects, you can see that I have two components in it. So one is a web application, and another one is a backend service that is powering that web application. So this project, as you can see, is linked to my GitHub repo. So this project can pick up source code from in this repo. So I'll show you what it is like to create a new component. So when you click on that create button, you can add different kinds of components into your projects. So these can be your microservices, your web applications, your API proxies, which are forwarding requests to locations outside your cluster, webhooks for listening and to events from various sources, manual or scheduled jobs that are running, event handlers which can listen to events from Kafka, Azure Service Bus, and so on. And then something called test runner, which is used for integration tests for testing your components. So you can create any one of these components. So I'll show you what it is like to create a service component. Let's call this backend service, for example. And then you have to pick like which build pack we call this, which language your code is written in. So we support various build packs, and we also support Docker. So if you have something that doesn't belong to any of these build pack, you can go down this path, the Docker path. And then I have to point to where my source is inside the repo. So inside this repo, my source is in this particular folder. So as you can see, it's a Node.js service. So I can pick on that, and then I have to tell the compiler what node version this is written in, and say create. So that is basically the process of creating that component. So so behind the scenes now, what is happening is we are now configuring the build pipelines for this component, setting up the CI/CD workflow for this component, and all of these things are going, happening in the backend. We are also setting up like namespaces, security rules for this component in your Kubernetes cluster. So everything has been abstracted out. So you no longer have to, uh, go to your SRE team and DevOps team and get these things, sorted. It's all done for you. So this component is created, as you can see here. And then if I go into this section, I can now instruct the platform to build its code. So you can either pick from one of your old commits, or you can build the latest. So this is the process of manually building. So once you have set up the component, you can enable this toggle and get it to auto deploy as well, auto build and auto deploy as well, right? But since this is the first time, I'll show you what it looks like to build this. So now what's happening behind the scenes is it's starting to check out the code from GitHub and compiling the code, creating Docker images, creating the Docker image, scanning the image, and pushing it into ACR. Right, so that's what's going on here. You should see a list of actions that's happening in a few seconds. So yeah, so these are the things that's going on behind the scenes. So it's currently compiling, and once the compilation is successful, the build is successful, basically it will create the Docker image and then do the image scan, and finally it will push into the image registry, which is ACR,
And that's all
behind the scene.
running on the GitHub runners inside your cluster.
Yes,
Agree? Inside the
yes,
platform itself, managed by the
yeah,
platform.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So
I like to start with like a quick introduction. Say that's like an internal platform. That's not on the internet or anything. Like once you go on the marketplace, you create the platform and you organize your credentials and organizations. The teams are going to be able to create those projects and to deploy like application for their team. And
yes,
they
exactly.
where they're going to be deployed will be on this platform that's kind of a scalable and is using all the Azure products that we discussed before. That sounds great.
Yes, and this is deploying to your private registry, so it's not being deployed into a public registry. So it deploys, it pulls down source from your private repositories, and it pushes images into your private registry. So everything is, everything belongs to you. It's not like a public space.
Yeah, the whole
Um,
platform is inside your network, completely isolated,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
then you're just doing the work for us. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, once the build is successful, as you saw, you can now go and
Mhm.
deploy this. So as you know, you can have multiple environments. So I have development and production here. So I can go ahead and configure and deploy this. So if you want to set up any environment variables or anything, you can do it as well. And you can set up the network. So I'm deploying a service, so it gives me like confirmation about the visibility of the service and the type of service and the schema path and everything, so I can verify these things and deploy. Now when this is happening, as you can see, there is a deployment being happening. So what that means is your image that was just generated in the previous step is now being deployed into your AKS cluster. So the beauty here is that, I as a developer, I didn't have to write a single line of YAML to create Docker images or to deploy into Kubernetes, right? Everything was handled for me. So I just focused on my application logic, and with a few clicks I could get it deployed into a Kubernetes cluster. And once this is deployed, you can see there's one endpoint that's active. So this is also deployed into a Kubernetes cluster that is secured. So what this means is there is an API gateway set up for you already. The authentication is already by default enabled. So everything is done in a professional manner. So that this is like a proper deployment. This is not a random, developer setup, right? So we also have something called scale to zero enabled. So what this basically means is, so this is for cost control. So you don't want your services running unnecessarily. So we also have a feature that makes sure that your services are only running if traffic is being served from them. So if traffic is not being served, they'll be scaled down to zero. So that's one more part. So let me go into the test. So once this is deployed, I get an interface to go and test this service now. So this knows the interface of the service because of the contract attached to it. So I can go ahead and test it out. So since I have scale to zero enabled on this service, the first request is usually a bit slow, because it actually starts the service upon the first request. Since this is in my development environment, that's how it works. So I have a 200 response, so that means it's working. And the second request is generally much faster since the service is now scaling. So So yeah, that's about getting something deployed into the cluster. And once it is deployed, you can go into the observability section and look at your logs and various other metrics that you have in the system. So this might take a little bit of time to load. Yeah, it's still not loaded. Let's go into the project.
Yeah, that's appealing for the for the developers, and how the development team write the code and use to engage DevOps teams to create the whole platform. It could take a long
Yeah,
time, and
yeah,
then you simplify all this process.
yeah.
And but the operation now be able to also keep working, just a little bit different. They're going to using like those dashboards that could be used by operation and by the developers as well.
Yes, so we have different. So this whole setup is access control. So I am basically now showing you in admin mode, and therefore I have access to everything. But we have different sections for different personas. So developers would typically go through the build and sometimes maybe even the deployment to dev only. But then if you take this DevOps section, for example, so if I go back into the component that I created, we also have now, we allow you to go into different depths of the platform. So if you want to look at the containers, the amount of memory, CPU allocated, you can go in here into this section. Now this DevOps section would typically be restricted to your DevOps team only. So they will be the ones who can go in here and change these parameters and play around with it. So if you want to see the logs, you can, of the container, you can directly get it from this section. If you want to set up let's say scaling rules, like you can change those scaling rules from here. So you can, now this is set to scale to 0, or if you want HPA, you can do it from here. Change maximum minimum replicas. So all these settings are typically done by a DevOps person. So yeah, different people get access to different areas of the product.
That sounds great. That sounds great. And I like that you have kind of from scratch, you have templates that they can create if they don't know how to
Yeah.
get started. They only have the
Yes.
code, and they have to pick like a project template or something that they can get started from there. Like create a project and
Yes.
then have those templates.
Yes, so you can start from one of our samples. You can go through the tutorials and you create your first component very easily. So yeah, all those getting started guides are available. And we at WSO2 now, we are running our entire organization internal applications on Choreo. So what that means is our leave application, our payroll application, our performance review application, even access to our building building here in Sri Lanka, they're all controlled through various services that are running on Choreo. So this is that organization that you see. So I have read-only access into that organization, and these are the projects we are running. So if you can show you some insights of it as well. So if you go into this insights section and switch to production, so yeah, you can see like okay, what's going on. So last 24 hours, which was probably just the weekend as well, we had 36,000 requests, 500 errors. Yeah, so various stuff going on, right? So you
Great.
can get, yeah, so we are
I like
basically
the
running our
environment thing,
entire,
and you can see your like a real production environment here.
yeah,
And one thing I like it, like I said, like if you are a DevOps professional managing multiple organization, multiple projects, you're going to be able to see everything in one place.
yeah,
Um, without much navigation, or if I use navigation, you can get access to multiple projects and managing multiple customers or multiple organizations. inside the same company. I think it's amazing. Yeah. Even big companies where they have multiple teams or multiple organizations, you could have this platform running. And again, running inside your network, inside your Azure subscription, complete
Yeah,
isolated. And that sounds good. I think we can go back here on that discussion. Um,
yeah.
if anyone want to get started with this platform, what they should do should be the marketplace, or is any trial that they can do it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're as a developer, you can just go to choreo.dev and give it a try. So this is basically our developer website. So
Okay,
you can go to choreo.dev and sign up using your Microsoft, GitHub, or Google accounts, and you can get started. I mean, you don't need to purchase anything to begin with. So there is a free tier available, so everyone gets a free tier. So you can just sign up to Choreo and do everything that I just showed you. Point your code, get it built, deployed, running, and have it running forever for free, even if you want for a limited number of components. Um, so yeah, and that's basically what it takes to get started. And if you want to go enterprise, you can. And if you're a Microsoft custom already, you can go to the marketplace, purchase it from the marketplace, set it all up, and yeah, get going.
thank you, Nuwan. Thanks a lot. And wanna see what's coming with that. Is that in production in uh, already, or there's anything coming? There's a new version, or that's already. How long is in production? And
Oh yeah, so this has been in general availability in production for more than a year now. We have
yeah,
several customers already running lots of traffic through Choreo. And as I just showed you, even we as WSO2 are running our entire organization on Choreo. So yeah, it has been in GA for quite a while, for more than 1 year now. So yeah, being battle tested quite a bit.
that's great. And don't have, you're not going to be the first one using even that WSO2 is using production. That's great.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, and hope you see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.